It's the Knicks, Jets, etc. podcast with Alex Trataros, John Meleka, and Raisi on the beat. Let's go.
What's good, everyone? Alex Trataros here with another Knicks episode of the Knicks, Jets, etc. podcast. And with me, as always, my buddy, my close pal, the man with the plan, the one and only, John Meleka. But before we ask John how he's doing, you know what it is. We got that call to action. If you listen to this podcast and you haven't already done so, please make sure to subscribe. We're on all audio listening platforms. We're on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, Amazon, Alexa, Stitcher, you name it. We are there. If you listen to us on Apple or Spotify, please make sure to give us that 5-star rating. And if you listen to us on Apple, please make sure to leave a comment.
We're lots of comments on that YouTube, bro. Lots of comments on the YouTube lately.
What? We're not there yet. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. Relax. We're also sponsored by Fansided and Minute Media. So if you want to go check the podcast out on the interwebs, go to the Daily Knicks and the Jet Press. As John alluded to, we're also on YouTube. Knicks, Jets, etc. Period. No one writes out, etc. That's just wild. Subscribe. Hit the notification bell. That way you know when a new episode drops. When you watch a video, hit the like button, leave a comment. As John was saying, the last one with Corey Telebon, we got a lot of comments. Hopefully you guys give us a lot of comments on the last Jets episode we did, drafting 3 players to help turn this Jets team around, to solidify some questionable stuff. I go check it out. So first round was a little shaky, but hey, we ended strong. And then while you're also over there, we got another podcast, Winning Picks Weekly. John, video producer Greg, co-host, and our guy Chip Murphy. These guys go through every sport possible: NBA, NFL, NHL, MLB, MLS, you name it. If it's a sport, put odds on it. These guys will give you their bets.
Golf, Canadian Open. Chip's we got it all. We got it all covered.
Savages. And then last and certainly not least, please make sure to follow us on all social media platforms. On Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. We are there. John, my man, how you doing today, bro? How you feeling?
What up, man? I'm good. It's a big night for New York sports. I feel like I'm on a broken record here, but I'm really happy about that, right? We got the Yankees going, the Mets going right now, the Rangers, Game 4, pivotal one in Tampa. Everything is good. NBA Finals on. I mean, it's just a great day. And we got a great guest on talking NBA draft. I mean, the vibes are good, man. Nice summer day. Not cloudy, not too hot. Everything's good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. As you said, it was a nice sunny day. Went out for a nice walk to go get lunch. It was a good day, man. We talked Jets yesterday. We got Knicks coming up. Draft is about 2 weeks away almost.
Crazy.
Almost.
Dude. I feel like
the
fast. Finals is going to be here for 2 weeks, but the draft is going to be here for 2 weeks. So
With that game, we had that game on Sunday, and now we got to wait until tomorrow. We're recording on Tuesday at 8:09 p.m. So they're giving them the break that they need, right? They're giving them the break that they need. But as you said, we got a phenomenal guest on the podcast today. I call him the Emmanuel Quickly of Knicks Film School because Mr. Macri found him. Steal out in the webs, out in the world, man. They found this kid. He's a rising star over at Knicks Film School. He's now the host of Draft Class. You've probably seen him when he's co-hosting with Macri for the mailbags. We got the one and only Kris Pursiainen. And if you watch any women's basketball over at Fordham University, you can go see him be a broadcaster over there as well. Mr. Pursiainen, how you doing today, my man? How you feeling?
Y'all, it's too much. I'm doing good. Excited to be back on the show. I still can't believe the intro. It's a way, like IQ, you know how I feel about that kid. So very high praise, Thank y'all again for having me. And I'm excited to get to talk about some of these prospects because this is an interesting, I say it every year, but this is an interesting draft class. I feel like this one, I see the, trades to trade up from 11 to 7. And I'm like, that's not worth it no matter what you're giving up, because I feel like in this class from 6 to 14, you got the same caliber of prospect. And it's really just about who fits where. And that's fascinating to me because I'm not saying they're all like so bad that you can't separate them. No, you've got a lot of talented guys, but in so many different ways. And then it's really fun to kind of try to rank them, order them, mock draft them, whatever you're doing. It's been very interesting with this draft class. So I'm excited to get to chat about these kids, even though many are older than me. and I'm excited to be back on the show. What's up?
Yeah, man, it's definitely been a minute, and I feel bad when I was looking through the archives. I was like, when did we have Kris on last? I saw it was like way too long, and I'm sure Don does as well. I feel terrible that we haven't had you back on a lot sooner.
That's too much. It's too much.
But nah, man, got to keep it real. But I want to ask you this question because since we're getting into draft, and you talked about this is an interesting draft class because the last couple of drafts, especially since for John and I, since we've been covering the Knicks, it feels like there's just a different label for the draft every single season. For like Obi's season, it was considered a weak class. Last year was considered a very strong class. And last year, it's kind of holding up to the bill. I mean, we got Jericho Sims, well, close to the end of the draft, and he's a solid player. How would you rank this draft coming up? Because we get, you can find some good gems in here. It's a weak class. It's a pretty strong class. Like it's all over the place. And I don't know how to get that read. How would you categorize this draft class?
I think no matter what, no matter the depth, everyone always cares about the gems at the top, right? And I don't know, man. Like I think I'd take Jalen Green number 1 this year. So that kind of gives you a sense of like, yeah, I like a lot of these guys at the top, but the kid that went number 2 overall should have gone number 3 overall last year would be my number 1 pick in this draft as a prospect, like prospect Jalen Green, not we saw year 1 in the NBA. Yeah, no, like as a prospect, if Jalen Green were in this class, I think I'd take him number 1. So yeah, I think it's not star-studded at the top. I do think someone like Paolo, one of those big 3 develops into a real big staple name in the league, but it's kind of like the quarterbacks, one of them will end up really great, but the famous vague answer, but not like it's good. It's a good draft class. You're just not going to be sitting at 7 having a number 1 caliber guy fall to you because it's so strong. It's not an outlier year. It's an NBA draft class that's I would say solid with depth. It would be if I had to give it a tagline. Like I think you can get down to the second round or early second round and still, like the Knicks love to do, find guys that will return mid-first round value. I think you can be in the late first round and find guys that will return late lottery value. Someone like Blake Wesley might be on the board at pick 25 this year. And for me, I think, in a couple years, if the touch develops as you hope it does, he could be worth the 12th overall pick. He could be worth 14. And so, there's depth, right? But it's nothing crazy. It's nothing, I'm not like saying, the Knicks sitting at 11 are going to have a player fall in their lap that would go top 3 any other year. No, that's not the case. It's just full of good prospects.
It always seems like the Knicks are like 1 or 2 picks away from the perfect pick, right? I mean, we always hear about it with the famous ones with Steph Curry, but I just feel like almost every single year we're 1 pick away from like, we should have had that guy. But before we start falling in love with players, like I'm sure last episode, if you tuned in, with Corey, he's fallen in love with some players. It's just kind of the nature of the business. But before we get into that, it's important to kind of identify what we have, right? You got to identify the pieces that you have before you start going out and, acquiring others. We started off mentioning IQ, comparing it to you. So we know you're high in IQ, but I've been saying that he kind of, I don't know, establishes the team, right? Because if he's going to be the starting point guard, then we don't need a point guard. You know what I mean? Then we're kind of looking for like a backup here. So if he's going to be the 6th man, if he's going to be the backup, then we're obviously desperate at point guard. So what do you feel about IQ and his position on this team next year? And then if you could just identify, off that, what do the Knicks need to do in this draft to be successful? I mean, you saw what happened last year.
Yeah, you're saying specifically what IQ, what he'll be
Yeah,
next
like
year?
because I feel like that flows off each other, right? So like,
I
how do
think
you feel about like IQ, and then depending on that answer, like what are the Knicks needs in this draft?
the Rose roll just keeps coming up to that's what keeps floating to the top. I keep throwing all the possibilities in my brain and jumbling them around, and that's what keeps floating up is just the Rose roll. I think I don't mean to paint a grim reality, but like say the New York Knicks pick a wing at 11, right? And they get a guard, Alondas Williams falls to 42 and they get him. I think Tibbs would start Derrick Rose. Like I think he is so fine doing that and then bringing IQ off the bench in the Rose role and say to close the game, Rose is telling him, bro, I am 34, however many years old. Like I'm really trying to stay in this game. I think I'm about to get hurt. Like you got quick. You know what I'm saying? So 6-man, but starter acknowledged by the coach as a starter caliber player from the 6-man spot. I could see that being what he does next season. I think in terms of we'll start with guards, like what the Knicks should do. A way to put it that I've been putting it is if they draft Ty Washington, I will see him as the 3rd or maybe 4th best point guard in our system. So like IQ, I'm taking over him. Y'all know that. Deuce, I'm taking over him. Y'all know that after I spent all last summer campaigning for him to be a lottery pick, saying that he would be worth a top 20 selection in last year's draft. And we stole him at 36. I'm taking Deuce. So many Knicks fans like, oh, well, we can't prioritize McBride because he was only a 2nd-round pick. How far do you think you're going to get thinking like that? Like restricting yourself, restricting the talent that you decided to invest in because of how you were able to invest in it. That's just, what are you doing? Right.
Also, those same people want to sign Mitch to a supermax, who is also a 2nd-round pick. So sometimes you got to just take it with a grain of salt.
Exactly. It's like, why I got told the other day that we have to pay Mitch a lot because he exceeded his expectations as a 2nd-round pick. And so to reward him for that, we have to pay up for him. Like as his, like, I was like, bro, what do you like, you think they're handing out lollipops? I'm like, hey, RJ, you got really good this year. We're going to give you a pay raise. No, bro, that's not.
It's probably what people feel happened with Randle. You know what I mean? Because we could have kept him for one more year, kind of let him play it out. So, I mean, we kind of learned that from the Jamal Adams situation, where like with drafting a safety or paying for a safety, like everyone becomes jaded once you do something. So, we paid Randall, and everyone's like, oh, now we're just gonna start paying people because they had one good year. Like, now it's
the post-traumatic Knicks disorder is crazy. I've been told we have to trade 11 for Brogdon because Tibbs isn't going to play a rookie anyway. So why are we going to get one?
I really hate that.
What the hell is wrong with you?
I really hate when I see that. I just get so angry. I'm like, yo, you do know he has played rookies, right?
This is what I'm saying.
It's just such a wild statement to make. It's like average 20 minutes his rookie season. Obi was playing his rookie season, even though it wasn't a lot of minutes. He still got playing time. And that's a whole other issue, right? Because we got Julius Randle, so he can't even get many minutes. But then once Grimes entered the season, he was a lock in the rotation. Tibbs didn't want him out. I just hate that.
It's like going online. I always say Twitter's amazing because people will log on and tell the world things about themselves that like no one ever needed to know.
It's amazing. It's a free app.
It's free, still free. And people will log on and like we're just talking about really proudly be like, I follow this team through New York Post headlines. It's like, all right, well, that's it's reflected. We could tell, like I don't. Jeez, man. So
shout out Berman.
Hey, I think and listen, I defend Berman when it calls for it. Like I'm just super fair with him. I tell him directly, I'm gonna give you shit when you deserve it, and I'm gonna protect you from unnecessary shit when you're getting it because I think he's good at his job. I think he's very good at his job, and people underestimate that by being annoyed by him. I think he's very good at his job, and a lot of these reactions to his tweets are very intentional. So, there are ways to read his tweets and get really good info out of them. I definitely respect him, but yeah, like I think that drafting a guard at 11, whoever's going to be there, is just like not worth it, right? Because in my opinion, with the 25th and 36th picks in the last two drafts, we got better guards than whoever we're going to take at 11. That's going to be a lead ball handler. You know, I don't think I'm very high. I'm not. You know, I don't think I'm very high. I'm just not. I'm not high on Dyson Daniels as a primary ball handler. I'm going to be a little more confident with that take. I'm not high on him, but I would love him as a wing, right? Like if New York drafted him and said we want you to be a wing with secondary playmaking chops, okay, I would love that pick at 11. If they draft him at 11 and they're like you're our point guard, I would be a little concerned. So this is kind of me finding a long-winded way to land around. I don't think investing in a center, it's not general. I don't want to say no matter what, investing in a center with 11 is a bad idea. I think given who Duren and Mark Will are, I would not invest 11 in those guys. So I'll take it a wing. I'm taking a wing at 11 if I'm New York. I don't think they have to. I just think it's definitely going to be the smartest value play, no matter who is there, whether it's they're really high on Johnny Davis, even though I see how some teams probably have him in that 14 to 17 range. If they're really high on him and he's there at 11, okay, take him. Small wing, done. Tari Eason, you know, he might fall a little bit. If they're really high on him, take him. Boom, big wing, done. Not right. Like AJ Griffin falls to 11. Okay, take him. Medium wing, done. You know, like I just think that they should just camp out at 11 and just wait, let the board fall, see who's the best wing bet available. If it's Mathurin, I'm not a huge Mathurin guy. I'll take him at 11. I'll definitely take him at 11 as a bet on a wing that could shoot the rock opposite of RJ out there. Okay. You know, like there's a lot of good options at 11, and I'm willing to let the other teams determine what we do. You know, I'm not running in there and being like, we need AJ Griffin so badly. Yeah, no, is he my favorite guy out of any of those wing bets I just mentioned? Sure. Yeah, he is. I'm not trading Obi and Dallas's first round pick to move up 4 spots to 7 to guarantee myself him. Like that athletic trade had me wincing, yo. Like I just, yeah, it's not. That's what I was trying to say earlier. Like the value in this draft from like 6 to like 14. It's just, these guys are all really good prospects. I'm not bending over backwards to move up 4 spots in a year like this. So sit at 11, take the best wing there.
I feel you. And to the people that we've talked to, that's kind of been the same response for this entire draft class, is that there's not in the range that the Knicks are in, unless you're moving up to go get someone. And we can talk about this right now, about like someone like Jaden Ivey. That's someone you can move up to go get, that you would trade assets to go get. But outside, like for all the wings that you mentioned, there's not really anyone that you should go up to move mountains for in order to make sure that you secure them for your team. So since I mentioned Ivy and we have those rumors of trading up, like what do you make of all those rumors of like the Knicks are looking to, like, you know, it might be the play of like trading with Portland first, get the 7 and then move the 7 to move up to 4. So that way you can actually, like, you know, make it more palatable for them. What are your thoughts on the Knicks trading up and all those rumors circling around?
That would be very Aller-esque, wouldn't it? Move up to 7, move up to 4 from there. You know, I joked like, oh, we got to call Portland, tell them we're all in on Jalen Duren, and we really want him at 7. And they're thinking, Jesus Christ, these guys are idiots. Yeah, sure. Throw us that pick and come get him, because they don't care that someone's moving ahead of them for someone they don't want. And then you call Sacramento, hey, we got 7. We're dying for Shaedon Sharpe at 4. You know, we really need Shaedon. He's Kentucky. We need him. And then you take Ivy. You know, like something like that, something super Aller-esque like that would be perfect. I like to imagine them, you know, setting the smoke screens and yada yada. But
this is Crispy's version of draft day.
Yeah, be starring Leon Rose. I don't think that they end up moving up, and the reason for that is I don't think the trade for Ivy, who in my opinion is the only guy that they would give real shit to move up for, I don't think that is going to scream off the page as value to them. I think they know that that's a swing that's going to You know, I made this like awful analogy on draft class, like to even try and swing at that pitch, they have to go buy the best bat on the market, and that hit, considering they might not get the homer, like I don't know if they'll make that giant bet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Ivy's the guy they would trade up for if they're trading up, because what his skill set does for the rest of your young core is kind of not just fills the puzzle, but like lifts them up as well. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
he can improve the skill sets of our other players and help them be optimized and all that. So yeah, like does IQ, Ivy, RJ, OB, Mitch, or whoever really intrigue me? Yeah, it does. But for a front office so obsessed with value, so obsessed with winning every trade, I know the trades they're gonna be willing to lose value-wise are the big swings. If they get a free agent and then they need another guy, they'll trade whatever they want to, whatever they need to for that other guy to have a completed team. But knowing that they're willing to be so aggressive later on makes me wary of how many assets they're willing to just dump out now, right? You know, the Stepien rule, you trade a couple of your own first, and all of a sudden you're locked in to not being able to move any. Chicago couldn't make any in-season upgrades last year because they needed so badly to pay DeMar DeRozan $30 million a year that they gave up a first-round pick, a second-round pick. That, you know, like they got really sticky with the Stepien rule, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, this Bulls team is as injury prone as we thought it would be. They need help. Oh, we have Kobe White. Like, I don't know. That's not, it's not tenable, right? So I'm afraid of a situation like that. And that's why I think they are too, because they think of everything. And if I'm able to figure this out, then that means that they were talking about this in January, and that Brock Aller has already been all over trying to lay out the plan for these next couple of years. If they're going to swing, it's going to be a big swing. Trading up for Ivy certainly would do that. But I don't know if this year is the year it happens. Sacramento doesn't, they're at least putting up a really strong front that they're not moving down from 4. So obviously that's them, you know, maybe just feeding team reporters, local radio guys, trying to get them to spread that out there, that they're not going to move that pick and that they just want to take the best guy available because that would match up with Ivy, right? But I don't know. I just can't
Sacramento's
see it
such an
happening.
Sacramento's such an interesting team because I don't know what at that point if you have Fox, Davion Mitchell, Jaden Ivey, it's just confusing, man. I mean,
And Mitchell's your 6th man, or you start Mitchell and Fox and let Ivy run the bench unit to start. But it's like either way, it's just odd.
yeah, Ivy would probably be the perfect fit for Detroit though. Him on Detroit next to Cade and that young team, that'd be a fun team to watch. That'd be a good league pass team to watch all those kids. But speaking about all the other, speaking about moving up from 11 to try to go to 4, you know, we know that the Knicks are looking at. They've already, you know, we were talking about this beforehand, and want to get your take on this. They've been looking at Malachi Branham, Dyson Daniels, Ty Washington. Like those are all the reported players that we've heard from the New York beat reporters, and then we, you know, as you talked about before the show, we had Tari Easton that we found out through the Washington reporters that he worked out for the Knicks. So what do you make of this entire thing? Because the beat reporters didn't find out that Tari Easton worked out for the Knicks, and we had to find it through essentially back channel reporting to see, oh, Knicks are interested in Easton. Cool to know.
Yeah, there was nothing linking the two, and then, you know, he's got a whiz backdrop behind him talking to the Washington media. And he's like, yeah, I worked out for this team, New York, this team, like just threw it out there. And that's kind of been the only way we're going to find out about who's worked out with the Knicks. I remember last year, just at the combine, watching all the interviews, trying to see who mentioned that they worked out with New York, that, you know, because again, the Knicks, like, remember who runs them. Right, like the PR master runs this team. So everything is going to be dressed up, everything's going to be hidden, everything, like they know exactly what they're doing. The guy that picked Mitchell, you remember the story, if anyone finds out what happened in this room today, you're all fired. The Jazz GM saying that to all his coaching and scouting staff. Like, if anyone finds out what Donovan Mitchell just did in front of us, the Utah Jazz, before draft night, and he's not on the board at 13 because one of you guys leaked this, I'm firing the entire staff. Like, that guy Walt Perrin, who was what the guy who like really wanted Mitchell, he works for us. Like, yeah, our team knows what the hell they're doing when it comes to mixed messaging, which is why I found fascinating that as it kept coming out who had been working out with the Knicks. First, it was Ty Washington, Kentucky guy. Obviously, we were going to work him out. That was news to nobody. Dyson Daniels, we knew we were working him out. He's in our range. People saying his agent really pushing that he'll be gone, top 10. So yeah. And then Malachi Branham, that's when I really started thinking something was up, because Rafael Barlow went on the Strickland pod and Prez threw me this bone before the pod came out that Branham was having bad workouts, that he wasn't impressing teams, that yes, he's young and there's a lot to work with, but he wasn't going to come in as maybe who they thought. And that doesn't sound like a New York Knicks draft pick, right? New York Knicks draft picks, since we've hired Leon Rose, have come in and been able to fill a role. And then they can grow more than that. They can grow into filling a bigger role, but they come in and they're able to fill a role. The New York Knicks pick guys that can come into the league and fill an NBA role from day one, even if they're not excellent at it. Deuce McBride, point of attack defender, bring the ball up the court, dump to Julius, or barely initiate. Like he's like the barely point guard. Quickly came in, shooter, right? Spark plug off the bench. He filled that role, and now he's getting a little bit of more of the reins, right? He's getting the ability to try and fill the role of primary ball handler. Obi, Trevor Ariza, right? Like, they just had him standing in the corner. That's a role he filled, and he was bad at it, so they changed it, and then he was good in that starter role. Yeah, like, Branham didn't sound to me at all like someone the Knicks would take, given that information. And that's when the rug got pulled out in my brain, and I came up with my theory. Oh, they're just letting the media talk to all the guys they already decided they're not taking. And that's what I'm rolling with, because first of all, it would be very Leon to do that. Second of all, the concept of throwing these prospects that they don't care much about to Berman and Bondi and all these guys, like, yeah, you know what, just sick them, go have fun, is also really funny. And then also, yeah, like, I think it adds up. I think it just genuinely adds up that they would keep their favorite cards close to the chest and kind of bleed a couple on purpose, make people have a false sense of security. You have to make some prospects available. Yeah, so I think that this is their way of maneuvering, and that they have guys they're interested in. They're not letting the media see them. They're not letting the media ask them a thing about how everything has gone. So yeah, that was my theory.
So, like, not only is it just protecting the players, because you mentioned, like, for like Walt Perrin, not like how Walt Perrin was at the Jazz, with the Jazz, I should say, and he didn't want anyone to figure out but Donovan Mitchell. But do you think this is also a way to just like raise stock of other players, so that way someone that they want also falls to them as well? Do you think that's also in play?
I'm sure they've considered that. They know the second they put a guy out there, a million tweets are going to go out. Knicks this guy, Knicks this guy, Knicks this guy, Knicks this guy. So yeah, like, it's calculated. I think that's my theory, is that this is all calculated, and I think it's a good one, because everything this front office seems to do is very calculated. So yeah, I'm not scared to go along with that, to run with that working theory.
It's kind of one of the reasons why I like this front office, even though their free agency has been a little lackluster, but everything else that they've been doing has been pretty on point. So, John, you got anything there?
I love this front office.
Yeah,
it's been A1.
I mean, we're talking a lot about what Leon Rose would do, what kind of players would he draft, and we've definitely been, again, like, kind of a juxtaposition between the Jets and the Knicks front offices, is we're kind of starting to get a feel of which kind of players that they actually draft and what they're actually looking for, whether it's high character, whether it's being a team captain. You pointed out for the Knicks, it's fulfilling a specific role, not really that all-around player. So give us like 3 names right now. I mean, honestly, like to be honest with you, Kris, AJ Griffin has been our guy. Like before you came on, I labeled him as I think he would be the number 1 game changer for the Knicks. Alex said that would be we need a wing, and that's the top wing. And you're on the same page, we know from all your draft stuff, but we're not trading up for him, and pretty much he's not going to fall to 11. I mean, we could pretty much guarantee that unless something crazy happens. So you're sitting there at 11. What's the ideal draft board? Realistic, and let's call it realistic, but also ideal for you. Like, all right, you're like, we can work with this if you're sitting at 11 and you're Leon Rose.
So what I think they'll
like, what do you think?
What I would give them? Yeah. Oh, okay. So before knowing how the draft is going, just telling the Knicks 3 guys that they should look out for.
Yeah, like don't worry about it. Like it can go crazy, but these 3 guys, like two out of 3 will be here. And if you take any of these 3 guys, like we're gravy. Like don't worry about it. Don't trade up. Don't trade down. Like just chill out. Take this guy, and we're gonna be good to go for this year.
All right. So number 1, I'll go AJ. I think when mocking him, I've been wary of like my first mock draft I did. New Orleans passed on him because they've already got a Dookie with injury risk. So I've been like trying to think about where I mock him and yada yada. We can afford that, right? Like we're in a position as a team where we're taking those kind of swings. We just traded a 1st-round pick for Cam Reddish, and it made sense with where we are right now. I think he should be our number 1 target at that point. I'm not scared of that. Number 2, I'm gonna go Tari Eason. I think maybe he'll definitely be there at 11, but he's someone that they should be interested in. I think will be interested in at 11. I talked about on my latest lottery big board for like the draft class lottery board that his workouts aren't going exceptionally, but that I don't really care. And yeah, I'll double down on that. I'll put him 2nd. And number 3, guys that, all right, I'll go Jalen Williams because I think I would be fine if they took him at 11, which is a bit of a hot take, I think.
A huge jump from I don't know, a month ago. Like he was a 2nd-round pick a month ago, right?
He's marked at 28 right now, in some drafts.
I bought the buzz. The second the buzz started, I looked into it, and then I bought it. I think he's legit, and I think he's legit with the ball in his hands. I think he's legit as a scorer. I think it's not very easy, but there is a clear path to him being a star level player, which, that's a fine pick with the 11th overall pick in the draft. I'm not freaking out over taking that guy at 11. So, because you said realistic, I think 2 out of the 3 guys will definitely be there. Eason and Jalen. Griffin target, 0, but 1 and 2, we could be Tari and Jalen. I really like that kid out of Santa Clara, Jalen Williams.
Corey Telebo was also giving some high praise for Jalen Williams as well. Yeah. What do you like about Jalen Williams? Because you're the second now, like you're the second guy within 2 weeks talking about Jalen Williams. So what do you see from Jalen that you really like about him?
I gotta say all right, like someone picks up an instrument and they sound terrible, but there's like a little something, that artful, natural feel. Someone picks up a pencil, does a drawing, and it's bad because it's their first time. But there's like, oh, how'd you think to do that? There's little things that are like, hey,
Jericho Sims,
you might not be an expert at this right now, but you're doing stuff that demonstrates that you could be really good at this. That for things that are art, like like the game of basketball, like physical art, like there's a natural touch, a natural feel to it. And I think Jalen Williams is very artful. I think he's very much like that with the game of basketball. I think he has a natural feeling of what will work, and that is super important. Someone like Evan Fournier is a better shooter than Jalen Williams might ever be. Jalen Williams right now probably has a better idea of how to handle a double team than Evan does at age 30. It's just like this guy is naturally doing shit that 10-year pros have not yet figured out. He's making passes that I've only seen Luka like to make. No, that's not a Luka comparison. Before someone tweets at me, hell no.
We're clipping that, by the way. We're gonna leave the second part off.
But crop it right.
Yeah.
You take my voice and take out the not a, that is a Luka comparison. But the start uploading like doctored clips on me. Nah, but he's doing shit that like I've only seen Luka do. I'm not saying he's gonna be Luka, but I'm saying that to do that, you have to have at the age of 18 a really fucking good idea of what it's like to be a good professional basketball player. And since he's never played professional basketball, it would indicate to me that that same natural feel that clicked on the court in college is going to click on the court in the NBA, and that he's going to find his way quickly to being productive. Defensively, man, look at that wingspan, right?
I was about to say,
the kid has a
we're talking
wingspan.
a lot in circles to say wingspan. Like that's a lot of different ways.
I'm talking about his instincts, which is separate, because guys can have all the wingspan in the world and be idiots, but he's really comfortable out there, and he has the measurables to go in the lottery. I know because he's a late riser, relatively, that it's uncomfortable to mock him 11.
Yeah.
But I think if I'm sitting like as an NBA team at 11 and say, Chet Powell, Jabari, Ivy, Sharp, AJ, Keegan, Eason, Mather, and Duran are all gone, and that is 10 or 11 guys. Like I'm sitting there at 11 or 12 and Jalen Williams is on the board. Do I want to develop Ousmane Dieng? Do I have time for that? Do I have a center already? Do I want Durant or Williams? Do I need shooting? Can I bet on Sohan? Yeah, this Williams kid is starting to sound like not too bad of a pick there at the 11 to 12 range. All right, I'll throw you guys a bone. I'll get out a hot take that Knicks Twitter might want to light me up for. That like, if Jalen Williams just ends up better than Dyson Daniels, I'm going to be the first I told you so guy. Like I'm going to be so unsurprised. Do I have Dyson above Jalen on my big board right now? Yes, I do.
Yes. Yeah.
However, I've got Dyson that high as a do-it-all wing with creation upside. And if a team like Washington drafts him after a year, trades Beal, says, you are our guy, take the ball every play, I don't know if he's going to develop into the player that this more specialized player that he could be at that off-ball role, right? So, yeah, I could see Jalen Williams ending up better than him. Say Jay Will gets to come hang out with the Knicks development staff, which, we know they're investing into, and Dyson goes to a team like Washington, which is not famous for bringing along young players. They've got like 3 wings they just drafted, kind of just chilling, sitting around, like Denny's showing flashes. Kispert exists. Hachimura Hachimura is actually my favorite of those 3, and I think
I agree with that.
Not that good. So it's like, Washington, I'm not trying to shit on it, but like it's not exactly a place where flowers go to bloom. And I think say Dyson goes there and the New York takes Jalen Will at the next pick, like Jalen Will could have a better career. So again, back to my initial point that I said before we started recording, after we started recording, again now. The value is like really even to me. So yeah. I'm like, trades like where the Knicks are giving up something real to move up 4 slots. It's just like, tell me you haven't scouted this draft class without telling me you haven't scouted this draft class using OB at a 1st-round pick to get up 4 slots. Jeez, man. Like people saw that trade. They were like, oh, we have to do it. This absolutely makes sense. What the hell are you talking? This is not the Knicks of days past where you need to have the highest pick possible because otherwise the front office will screw it up. They just gave you 2 years of $1 million worth of game for $9.99, and you're sitting here looking at it like, yeah, but what if they fuck up now? What do you mean, bro? Let them work. Let them cook. Let them rock. Jesus. Rant over.
Are you taking Williams over Branham or Mathurin if they're there?
Ben, you have to bet on over Jalen because of the athleticism. Personally, I'm a Jalen guy.
Yeah.
But Ben's going to be higher on my big board because the plethora of pass that he has to go development wise, so long as the common denominator of his defense gets serious. Yeah, I think you can turn him into a very special player as a development staff, but he does need that work. Branham, I'm definitely going Jalen Williams over Branham. And I know Branham's young. He's like 18 and a half right now. But man, especially for the Knicks, I think I'm going Jalen Will. I think Jalen Will can contribute day one easier and then also develop into a better player. So I'm taking him short and long term. And the Knicks kind of tend to think in both, at least consider both. So yeah, Jalen over Brandon would be easy for me.
Okay, so I want to talk about one more player because it's a player that we haven't discussed really on this pod yet. It's Tari Eason. I just want to know your thoughts on him and what type of player he is, his prospect. I know he's, he played power forward at LSU, right? So
I think he moonlighted as a 5 there too.
Okay.
The occasional look where something was allowing him to technically be a 5, but yeah, power forward is right.
I think, and there's like some intrigue of him being capable of playing the 3, right? I think that's the other aspect because he's a slasher, all of that. That's kind of, you're thinking about an off-ball guy next to RJ.
Yeah,
right?
Him playing the 3 is like the people that say Obi should play the 3 if they were right. Like, you know what I'm that he could actually do that. They're like, oh, well, Obi's athletic, so he could do that. But the lateral athleticism just isn't there. Finally, Johnny Bryan took him to do hot yoga. We'll see if that gets better. But
I was definitely one of those guys that was begging for Obi to play the 3 instead of the 5. People tell me to play for Obi to play the 5 makes me want to throw up, but I could have swallowed, the prospect of him being a small forward.
Well, he technically did. He technically did. Tim's just stuck him in the Jay Crowder role. That's basically what you were thinking, I think. So,
but the other thing for John too is that he likes teams that play big. So he likes how Cleveland works, where it's like massive, massive.
See, Laurie, even though Laurie's taller than Obi, he's a little more fluid moving, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's all about defense when you're looking to do something like that, and Obi just would think about how we're in a league where guys like Will Barton are playing the 3.
Yep.
What the fuck is Obi Toppin gonna do out on the perimeter match? Will the Thrill is gonna have a pretty sick mixtape from that game. If he
versus the Knicks,
if he has Obi matched up on him on the perimeter, that you're not gonna see Will Barton. You're gonna see Will the Thrill. So
stop. Hold on. Where's that nickname coming from? I have not heard that.
That's his nickname.
What? Oh,
Will
man.
the Thrill. That's who you're gonna get. You put Obi out there on the perimeters.
Will Barton abuses the Knicks.
So basically, Atari, yeah, I think he's got a shot, but I'm just deploying him as a 4 and letting him fuck shit up. If I'm a coach, man, to talk about what I see him as, I'm letting him fuck shit up. He's going out there. If he's open from 3, bang. Go open from 3 in the quarter, hard closeout, 1 dribble, 1 step, Kawhi ass, Space Jam ass dunk, boom, bam. There are paths to him being really good that you can see and project because of that athleticism that I don't even think Obi has laterally. Tari has Kawhi sized hands. He moves like a giant, but he can run. It's like if a giant took I'm trying to think of a video game power up that allows them to just move like a tiny character all over. That Tari is kind of funny. I was on Upside Swings and I was talking about Atari Obi front court. I just kept saying it would be funny. Imagine those 2 guys running up and down the court every play. That's
athletic. That's fun.
That's kind of funny, man. Just think about your 4 and 5 being Obi Toppin and Tari Eason, just offensively and defensively, just out beasting dudes. That would be amazing. And they also both kind of run funny, so that's why I said it would be funny. But yeah, Tari, I just think about him on his team instead of the Knicks, I'll throw him on a scenario where you can imagine my role for him a little better. Like think about him on a team like Memphis. God forbid he falls to 22. You've got Ja Morant driving in the paint, initiating offense. You've got Desmond Bane spacing the floor. You've got Zaire Williams defending into a long wing that can create a little bit offensively, is giving you that Cam Reddish deflection defense. You've got Tari and JJJ locking down the paint, but Tari's moving all over because he can move like that. He's like the Boban of free safeties, right? Like dude's just like hilariously gigantic for what he does. He's gonna be playing on defense like not the Robert Covington role, but when Portland traded for Robert Covington, the role they thought he could fill,
Okay.
which was the clean up all of Dame, CJ, Nurkic, and everyone else's fuck ups role. Yeah, Robert Covington, no one in the league is good enough to cover up Dame, CJ, and Nurkic's defensive fuck ups. Thinking Robert Covington was mistake number 2. But yeah, like the free safety of the defense, right? The guy who, yeah, he has a matchup, but he's so often getting in those other passing lanes. He's basically just guarding 3 guys at once, no matter what, whether he wants to or not. And that length and those instincts, because I'm not just trying to gas Tari's measurables. I'm not just trying to say, oh, he's supersized Rocco. Like he's really smart defensively. He's really good at getting those hands, those big ass Kawhi hands backwards in places they have no business being, and just grabbing the ball and going on. Like, dude, it's like he's got magnets on his hands. The ball's not one inside of it. And he's just like, scoop, that's mine now. Pass down the court. Yeah, I can just picture Tari finding Obi 90 feet down the court because Obi already leaked out and Tari got a steal he had no business getting, and he just like that. Yeah, man. Yeah, so JJJ locking down the paint, Tari free safety. You got Zaire also length locking down the perimeter, and then you got John Bane taking the point of attack, maybe being a wing defender, switching off, whatever it is. Like that's a little more easy to picture than Walker, Fortier, RJ, Randle, Eason. That's just. I tried to paint a picture where it's easier to see, and imagine Eason fitting in that Grizzlies future starting 5. Like, that is a perfect fit for him. Someone who doesn't need to do offense to stay on the floor. Like someone who doesn't need to be creating plays. Like he's just hitting open threes. He's taking guys off the dribble when they over jump on a pump fake, and he can get to the rim. His length allows him to hop, skip, jump through the lane and stretch out and lay it in, yeah, like this is a kid where I always bring it back to lottery tickets. You're coming to the table with a lottery ticket. How bad do you want to walk out with the $10 bonus? Like Ochai Agbaji would be cool, right? But you're trying to win the $100,000. Right? Like, and you're not in a position as the Knicks where this isn't your last $10. This isn't your last $10 scratch off ticket. You can get another next year. You've got Dallas's next year. Like you can afford to go big or go home with these lottery tickets. Put it in the raffle bin that you've actually, forget if you've got a chance to win. Like you could see a universe where whatever you win, whatever prize you get, like is an Xbox you're going to use every day. This analogy is going totally off the rails, but you get my point. Like
that's why we have you on the pod, Kris.
Don't
for the analogies.
Don't just go get a fucking hair dryer because only 4 other people entered that one and you think you're going to win it. And then you end up with the hair dryer, like I guess like a good Mother's Day gift. It's like, no, dude, go for the fucking PS5, right? Like go to where go big or go home. And the Knicks are in a great position to do that. And I think that this specific PS5 would be one that they would use really, really efficiently, effectively, productively, yada, yada, would be absolutely worth it. So that's the raffle I'm entering. If I'm them, is I'm going big. I'm going for AJ Griffin. That swing on him being mini Paul George if he's there. You get what I'm saying? Like, take those big risks because we can afford it right now.
All right.
Next year, if we're in the lottery again, do you think they're going to be like, well, Ousmane Dieng would be a great pick this year? No, right? Like, no, they're gonna start. Oh, we need sure things. We're gonna take this guy. We're 5 picks too high
We
because we're
can't be in
sure
the
that
lottery next year, bro. Don't even put that energy out there. We can't. We just can't be in the lottery.
I'm telling you, man, if they are, because they swung and missed on this pick, that's one thing, right? But say they went safe this year and ended up back in the lottery, then what the hell did you go safe for? We're in a position
we were safe
where
this year.
We can keep
that's the
taking
big
No,
criticism.
and I get that point because since we're not in the top 4, right? We already like hit on 2 drafts last year with all the players, and especially if you know baseline, someone like AJ Griffin, if like AJ Griffin can at least be 3-and-D, like a solid role player in that aspect,
that
then
now
you
and
still
later,
win. Yeah,
he can
but if he
come
could be
in.
more than that, that's the win.
He can come in, fill a role for Tibbs, and that's the now. And then the later is we know he has the upside to be more. So, the now and later part, I think, is real for New York. Someone like Dyson, if they don't buy his shot, what's his role year 1 under Tom Thibodeau? Alec Burks that can't shoot or dribble as well. What's his role, right?
No dribble, no dribble penetration. Yeah, he's just
kind of like Maxey a little bit.
Who? Dyson?
Yeah, I mean,
Dyson doesn't have the dog in him.
Nah.
Oh
I could say he's more to me. He's more of like Alonzo Ball connector type of guy.
Boom.
without the shot.
Boom. I think I like Grimes as a comp better than Maxey. Maxey was reminding people of Eric Bledsoe's defense coming out of college. Eric Bledsoe's defense coming out of college was a real thing, and he's got that bulldog in him. Like he doesn't.
We were wrong, right?
He doesn't just got that dog in him. He's got the bulldog in him. Maxey is the hard nosed, will go beat the shit out of you. Dyson is like, I don't know, man. He's
all right. Just not a fan. I don't know.
But I think Alex likes Dyson, and he doesn't see it either because it's like,
Alex has a lot of feelings towards some players, and he thought he could get away with this episode not talking about Ty, who he's been off of.
You can't tell me on Ty.
Exactly. So we develop feelings on players. I think Ty is going to be pretty good in the NBA. There's a couple other players that aren't really. I would say that popular, like Dalen Terry coming out of Arizona. He has the wingspan. He was pretty good. So do you feel like, just say they don't swing, or say we trade down, like are players like Terry or players like Caleb Houston, like, do you think those players would affect this team?
Terry, yeah. So Terry's someone I could see them liking if they move down. We know how the Knicks operate, right? They've shown us at this point. I think last year's draft is an amazing example of it. Who did they like? Duarte, Zaire,
your boy,
Murphy, Trey Mann. These are 4 guys we knew, whether before or after, that we found out they liked in 19. I know Zaire was their number 1 pick. If he was there in 19, they were going to take him and run. Memphis saw the same vision, which is why they moved up to 10 for him. Trey Murphy, 2 picks before us. Trey
as
Mann,
always,
1 pick before us. So what did they do? Duarte went to the Pacers. What did they do? They found out their next tier of guys. They knew they loved Grimes, McBride, a couple of these other guys. They just moved down and went to go get them at value. So they have guys they like. They're ready for this, man. They're ready for all their guys to be gone. They know draft boards can shake out however many ways. I just said on Twitter the other day, because someone responded to my mock draft. They were like, creative, interesting, but probably unlikely. I was like, thank you. And yeah, because mock drafts, I compared them to like splatter art. People just take paint and see how it lands. It's gonna land once, and the way it falls, the next time you do it, it's gonna be completely different. But the way it landed, everything's connected. You threw the paint and everything. Oh, this one fell there because that fell there, and that dripped and connected because there was paint under it. Like, it's going to be different every time, but each one it's like, Doctor Strange is one reality. Like each mock draft is a different one of those multiverses. Like, you kind of got to just project a reality, and 1 pick being wrong can make 5 other picks wrong. So yeah, it's tough, but Not with it's definitely I'm still thinking about Ty, man. Now you got me side. You got my brain in the back just cooking, thinking about Ty Washington. No,
Negative thoughts, positive thoughts.
I don't want them to take him. I don't want.
Yeah.
I don't. You just it's because
He's too redundant, man. He's too redundant to quickly.
It's because how I feel about quickly and Deuce. But yeah, anyway, with their guys, like say they trade down, I could see Ty being one of their guys in a trade down. I don't think they take him at 11. Say they move down to 19 and he fell to there. Okay, I can see them walking away with him at that spot and being like, this is value. Because I do think Ty is going to have a good career, and I like him. I just don't like him as the 11th overall pick to the New York Knicks, who already have two guards in their system I personally consider better. You know, I just try to go along with that because it doesn't make sense to draft a guy that needs on-ball reps that you're not planning on giving any. So yeah, that's why I wouldn't take him if I were us. But no, I could see them trading down, having a list of guys. I could see Dalen Terry being on that list. Another guy who I could have seen being on that list, who actually is no longer in the draft, is Terquavion Smith. I definitely saw him being someone that they said, you know what, trade down. This is a swing that's worth it, because if he goes back to school, he might go lottery next year. And he went back to school and he might go lottery next year. So yeah, you know, I just, it's all about value. Value is the word I keep coming back to with this front office. Like, would they have taken Grimes at 19? Yeah, they loved him, right? Tibbs loved him. They saw that scrimmage at the combine, that they know he hooped. They know the shot was real. They were impressed by his willingness to admit his failure at Kansas and move schools and change roles. You know, that's a Knicks guy. But they didn't take him at 19. They basically made Cam Reddish appear out of thin air and still got the guy that they were going to take at 19. Which, when you look at it that way, isn't as annoying as when the people, they took a first-round pick and traded it for a nothing burger first-round pick that then they dumped on Cam Reddish to get whatever.
Oh my God, I remember that one. Woo! I remember that one.
Remember when the Cam Reddish deal was like the signet of the front offices and aptitude? Like, this was like the anti-Leon guys were parading this trade around. Like,
yep,
this is proof we suck. This is proof we suck. I'm like, you guys are unreal, man. Like, so yeah, I could see them maneuvering in a way where they get someone like Dalen, or I'm trying to imagine another player they'd like have the hots for that they'd trade down for. Jalen Williams. Williams, you know, Darren Erman was his coach when he went 7 for 8 from the floor, 19 points and an assist at that combine scrimmage. He was being coached by a Knicks assistant. And in his other game where I think he went 5 of 8, and his other game had like 12 points. Again, coached by a Knicks assistant. If you go to the combine and you take the combine really seriously, as you showed by taking Quickly and as you showed by taking Grimes, this seems like the next guy in that line. So I don't know. I can see them moving down. Say Cleveland at 14 really has it out for Johnny Davis.
Okay.
Johnny Davis. Cleveland really wants Johnny Davis.
I'll be okay with trading out of Johnny Davis.
They've determined he should go top 7 in this draft, and he's sitting there at 11. They're at a point where they just can't pass up on the value. I can see the Knicks saying, well, we would take Jalen Williams here at 11. So let's tell them we really want Johnny Davis, get them to pay up, go back to 14, and just take Jalen Williams there. Screw it. You know, that's something I could totally see happening. I made up Cleveland and their interest in Johnny Davis.
Sure.
But yeah, you know,
that seems realistic. I honestly, that seems realistic because
they
do have bigs.
They do have bigs. So I have a mock draft coming out. I want to say tomorrow. My lottery mock 2.0.
All right.
I'll spoil one for you guys. Johnny was the Cavs pick at 14.
I do like Johnny Davis. He's personally, he's my guy. Although I think for the Knicks, he may not be the greatest fit, but he is like one of my favorite players in this draft.
I love him. I have him over Mathurin, and that is like a cardinal sin to some people. But I agree. Betting. I always try to think. Okay, like last year, I thought from a very upside based perspective. That's how I ended up with Sharif Cooper at 8 on my board. was I have no job security tied to my big board, and I know that. So I'm gonna take swings.
Yeah.
And
I
there's
was
no
right about
consequences.
Sharif Cooper, right, Alex?
There,
I'm sorry.
I was right about Sharif Cooper, right? I mean, we know we had that buzzer beater, and then it was like, oh, I
Respect.
told you. Oh.
respect Sharif Cooper, future G League legend, and future contributing NBA point guard. So I'm gonna wait on him. He got drafted. Drafting Sharif Cooper, if you're Atlanta, is so. Could you imagine the Nuggets in this draft being like, we need Mark Williams?
Yeah,
What
or
the-
like Chet
what the-
Holmgren.
what the hell
Like,
are you gonna
we're
do?
gonna trade
What-
him for Chet. Like,
What the hell? No, Chet. They could play at the 4 with Jokic and have the greatest white front court of all time. Like that would be different from taking a guy who's position locked at the 5 and being like, we need him, despite having one of the best guys in the league at his position. Trey is position locked at the 1. Sharif is position locked at the 1. So no matter what, when they drafted Sharif Cooper, he was getting at most 12 minutes a night. Like, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing? Teams are funny, man. NBA teams.
They are fun. I mean, look, we had the GM for the Hawks come out and said, I regret bringing everybody back. So we all know that that's interesting. And that's why I also don't want our front office being out there just be like, this is our thoughts and ideas. It's like, no, we don't need that. We don't need that. But Kris, you gave us like all your picks and your scenarios for the first round. What about the second round, man? Give us like the one guy in the second round that you're high on that you would hope the Knicks take.
Stacey Patton. No, not him. He has sold me on a guy, however. With the
You're telling me you're not taking Stacey with the 42nd pick?
Select Stacey Patton, point guard, Twitter.com. No, Koloko, man. I'm in.
Okay.
I'm gonna start with Duren and Williams because you guys know I have to do everything in the most long-winded way possible. Duren, man, all the upside is there. I think there's a little too much upside being perceived with him. So I don't know. Let me give you guys exactly where he is on my board right now. Is he in the late lottery on my board right now at number 12? Yes. Do I think he's top 7 pick like KOC does? No, right? KOC has him at 7 on his board over a lot of other guys that are really intriguing that I just wouldn't take over him. So I like Duren, but I don't love him. Mark Williams, I think, is right under him on my board. Literally the spot under on my board. And in mock drafts, this mock that's going to come out soon, they're going to be pretty close to each other. I don't see there being a huge gap in where they get taken. But again, I love his athleticism. I love his size. I love his upside, his skill. I do like the little descriptors on my mock drafts and big boards. Johnny Davis is a intensely defending bucket getter, something like that.
Love it.
Mark Williams, I've got 2 words: skilled, giant, because that's it. That's it with him. And I think that's the whole pitch is the rim protection, is going to be there. The guy can stand still, reach up and grab the rim and pull it down. He has a 9'9" standing reach. I think we know the rim protection is going to be there. The skill and the size, that's the sell for me, is what he can do with the ball at that size. You don't think he's going to be some hub, but he can maybe get the ball and whip it, short roll pass, and create a shot that someone like Mitchell Robinson kills me when he never does, because despite the size, despite his natural feel out there that he demonstrates, it's like he has no feel for passing at all, So Williams really intrigues me in that regard. Now we make it to Koloko, who is being mocked too far below these 2 guys. Like, if my thing is, if you are super high on Duren the way the consensus is, and you think Williams is okay, whatever the way the consensus does, you should also think Koloko is like okay. You should have him below Williams, but close. But people don't. People are super high on Duren. People are pretty high on Williams, and then Koloko is just kind of like floating out there in the second round, kind of like on his own wavelength. I think that people should be higher on him. I think that there's a distraction in Duren and Williams And people are like, oh, the 2 centers at the top of the draft. Yeah. And then there's the second round guys. They've kind of let how the media talks about these guys shape their opinion completely of them, which, I'm always going to root against. I love people coming up with their own shit. And you guys know my thoughts on like the whole talking head industry we have going on right now. Y'all saw, I hope you saw Stephen A. Smith.
Jeez.
I hope you saw Stephen A. Smith, who is a basketball fan. He is a Knicks diehard fan. I'm telling you guys. No, I'm telling you guys. Stephen A. Smith is a diehard Knicks fan. I'll go out on a limb for him and say he cares about this team the way I do. But he knows what he has to say to keep those paychecks landing. And when you put that strategy up against people who actually intend on making it seem like they know what the fuck they're talking about, you make them look really stupid, right? And that's kind of like how discourse is right now, is like people just kind of being they want to be Stephen A. I'm taking Kyrie Irving over whoever, even though, all right. Okay. Like it's like it's Jesus. Everyone's just screaming their own takes from the rooftops. Like the Bo Burnham inside, like everyone wants a stage, and then social media is just like like corporations' response to the public demanding their own stage. So why do you think shit like Spaces is so big, right? Everyone wants to come on there and act like they're Kevin O'Connor, who gets to go on Spaces and actually talk about source shit. Like I love it. I love that we all talk about the game like this, but when we could pull this facade away, that like we're all geniuses, and that we could all just kind of admit none of us know what the fuck we're talking about, and we're all trying to figure it out together. That's like a lot more appealing to me. So that's a side rant there. But yeah, no, I just think that the discourse has been split too much on the centers, and that I've got Koloko, I'm not going to say he's right behind the other two on my board. There are a bunch of wing bets, guys like Alondas Williams I'm going to take before Koloko. But first round, yeah, like he should be there for people. So say he's there at 42, you take him and run. Again, someone like Alondas Williams, someone for me that should be in people's top 30s. If he's there at 42, you take him and run. A center like Kamagate, I'm not as intrigued, but at 42, maybe you trade back to I don't think, like, I know for a fact the team that has the 48th pick and 52nd pick is not the same team. But like, if you have 42, you could trade back to 48 and 52 and grab Kamagate at 48 and trade 52 for a future second and just like punt it, right? And you get your guy, but you do it in the Aller way where you have to win the transaction the way Aller always wants. Yeah, like I would be chill with that too. So definitely guys in the second round that I think are worth first round picks. I will say though that I'm not enamored with this draft in terms of the guys that are supposed to be second round picks. So besides my couple favorites like Trevor Keels, like Alondas Williams, like Koloko, these guys I'm shouting out here who I think are not Keels, but who I think are first round caliber guys. If they're there at 42, yeah, that should be a good pick, because that, again, for the 8th time this podcast, would be value for the Knicks at that spot. And I keep coming back to that because that is ultimately what seems to drive them. They're always picking guys, good locker room guys, hard workers. I say on Draft Class, I love my psychos. The Knicks seem to love theirs, our basketball addicts like Quick. But it's all about value, right? They got Quick at 25 because they tried trading back up for Maxey, couldn't do it, didn't want to overpay, decided we'll just sit at 25 and we'll take Quick. Like there's a plan for everything, it seems, which
that's what I love about this front office.
They continue to impress me with. Yeah.
That's what I love about this front office. There's like a plan for every single scenario. And you can tell that that's where you see they have the right people making decisions when it comes to and that's why I love their draft process by this front office has just been they've knocked it out of the park the last 2 years. I'm expecting to do it again this season. And, we outside of, I think, Obi Toppin, who was like reported, and it's like, we know the Knicks will have Obi Toppin, and that's the guy that they got. Everybody else,
even with Obi, it was rumored they were going to trade up to 5, right? And
Right.
what did they do? Everyone and their mother's dog walker knew that the New York Knicks had interest in Obi Toppin. What did they do? They sat on their asses right at 8 and he fell into their lap. Even then, there was value there. So it's like, yeah, you're spinning.
Yeah. And it's like, that's why I love it. And so like but the thing that's the only guy who I feel like that we knew that they wanted. Like everybody else, like they liked in their workouts. And it's just kind of like, oh, Grimes, oh, McBride, oh, whoa. Like even taking Rokas was just kind of like that happened, and Jericho Sims. So I'm not. I like everyone that you talked about. I'm just like I'm wondering which direction the Knicks are going to go this year, because I feel like they have, like as you said, like they're planned for everything, and it's like, all right, which plan A to Z do we want to choose for this year's draft? And that's just what I'm waiting to unfold, honestly.
I think their plan is not having one. I think their plan is just having 26 plans. They're ready for everything. They have, like, if again, this is just like my literal fan fiction. Like they have like
you're gonna write a book on.
They have an imaginary giant file cabinet, and it's like, if Charlotte calls and tries to dump us Hayward, if Portland calls and wants to move down from 7, if they've got the whole order of operations for the whole offseason in a manila folder for every single outcome. Like they know who they want to sign if they trade up to 7 and draft who they want there already. They have that ready. Remember when Steve Mills and Scott Perry got lauded for having a plan B? Like,
oh, good Lord.
They seemed to have a plan B, and it was like, oh, they were prepared to lose out on Durant. And no, the fuck they weren't. They just attached like $100 bills to paper planes. They were like, whoever catches one is signing with the Knicks. Like, it was ridiculous, right? Nah, this front office has plan A through Z, and then A1, B1, C1, D. They've got everything ready, and they've got the subcategories of subcategories, and they're nuts, which is why I love them. Which is because I think they're all insane. Like I think Aller is an insane person. If you can sit and legitimately tell me like the pros and cons of like having Trendon Watford on your roster, and you're not a Blazers fan. Like, who the fuck are you? Like, what do you do in your free time? Like, Aller is insane. Like that guy is insane, and he's an insane genius. You want those people on your side. You want Walt Perrin on your side. You want Alex Klein on your side. You want William Wesley on your side. Like, these are all, I feel like the Knicks front office, when we were putting it together, every fan base was like, shit, that's the one guy we couldn't lose. And that's who we took from each team. Utah, Cleveland, OKC, we got Frank Zanin. We took their assistant, whatever, and we made him like our player personnel. Like we just filled roles with, it seemed to be like the heart and soul of every front office. Like Kenny Payne, right? Look at Kentucky the year after he left. They were having player meltdowns, and it was like it felt like a summer camp Kentucky. Like kids went to didn't feel like a home. That's when I realized, who made that place a basketball home? It was not Coach Cal. It was Kenny Payne, just like all his former players said. It really was him. Like I'm sidebar. He's going to be ridiculous at Louisville with.
That's a fact.
With
so before we get you out of here, and since you brought that up, the sad betting odds as Macri posted with Johnny Bryant and the Utah Jazz. What do we think happens? What's quick thoughts on that? I really hope that Johnny Bryant doesn't leave. I would like him to be the next head coach. I know Tibbs isn't going to be the coach for a long time for the Knicks, and I'm looking for more of like a setup for Johnny Bryant to actually like take this team over, not in turmoil. Also for me, like if Johnny Bryant took over this team now, that means you think that this roster is good enough to actually done a lot better and could potentially go further. And I just,
which they were,
they could have been a play-in team for sure. This team could have definitely been play-in team for sure. But
I mean,
I think
the numbers show that they played like 6 wins worse than they had to, which 1 win better or worse is like usually negligible. 2 to 3 is like, okay, they're either definitely underperforming, definitely over. When it's 5 in either direction, that is either a gigantic credit or a gigantic stain of shit on their coach. Either that coach has them playing 5 wins above expectations. Wow, he's got them hooping, right? Look at Taylor Jenkins, his first year with the Grizzlies, right? He kind of came out of nowhere and people were like, oh, the Grizzlies are actually playing some good basketball. This is cool, right? The Knicks were playing 5 to 6 wins worse than they should have been, which in any, like, that is the sign in the NBA that you have a shit coach. Do I think Tibbs is a shit coach? No, but yeah, he really made it look like it. So
no, it was really like, there's a lot. I mean, there was a lot of things that go on. I mean, you have Randall. I'm not going to go down. I feel like we keep going down that whole list of like everything that goes into it. And I'm not trying to do this. It's been a good vibes podcast. But anyway, I want Johnny Bryant to, like, I would rather have Johnny Bryant like in position to like succeed. Like, because I just don't see Tibbs as the guy who's taking them over them. He's a good culture setter. After that, he'll set the table for you. But as we're seeing for like Golden State, Boston Celtics, Toronto Raptors, you need somebody who knows how to push the right buttons to get the most out of your players. And I think that could be Johnny Bryant. So hopefully he doesn't leave.
Hey, man, Fordham basketball just just had a big thing last season, had a new head coach. Kyle Neptune, lead assistant over at Nova. He came, accepted the Fordham job. And after 1 year here at Fordham, he reached a round of the A10 tournament that Fordham hadn't touched since 2009. He made a really big impact here in his first year. You know what happened at the end of his first year? He brings in a recruit class that is just, it's Fordham's best since 2007. This guy, Kyle Neptune, has set himself up for a stud second year at Fordham. Do you know where he's going to be coaching? Villanova, because they came, dropped a fat ass check on us, and took him back home. So there's your glimmer of hope that if we do lose Johnny Bryant, that if, like, I don't know, the concept of someone, especially someone who's Black, choosing freely to leave New York City for Utah is not one that rings out to me as likely, considering the reputation and the reality out there of that fan base. And this is not meant to, be just shitting on people from Utah, but like, we know what it's like up there. But even if he did make that choice, I think the Knicks got the bag to drop on him if he's really their guy, to bring him back. Say after a year, Tibbs goes and they want to bring back Johnny from Utah. I think that's not out of the question. So would it be messy? Absolutely. Right. But Villanova just did it. Villanova just lost an assistant to a smaller team that gave him a head coaching role. And then when their head coach, when it was time for him to go, they said, screw it. We got the money. Let's bring back our guy. So yeah, could I see the Knicks doing that? Especially after, you know who they just hired to be the G League coach is like Johnny's guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you hire a G League coach? You know how pissy Tibbs is about this stuff. Like Berman is still writing how Tibbs is upset that Wesley forced Payne, Bryant, and Woodson onto him. Like Berman still writes about it in a nasty way, which is how you can tell Tibbs is telling him that he's still not happy about that. Yeah, like it's kind of the same situation, right? Lost the big important future looking assistant to a smaller team that gave him the head opportunity, because you had a guy who's just going to be a staple in that position. All of a sudden his time's up. Where do you pivot? Look right back home. Look at your guy who you had set up. And yeah, Johnny having that G League coach in it is a big thing for me, because seeing that makes me think, well, what if they go with Will Hardy? Because Johnny's just ultimately telling them, listen, man, I got a really good setup in New York and I'm the guy going forward, because we know Tibbs isn't lasting there forever. And it looks like he's not going to last as long as we even thought because of how he's doing stuff. I don't think I could swallow leaving that just for Utah, which I might leave again after a year. Like, I don't know. I think he was there and left. I don't know. He's want to run. I don't think he wants to run and go back.
Yeah, I don't think it's a city thing. I think it's more of a team culture thing. I think he had seen enough with Utah. That's why he wanted to move on. He knew the writing was on the wall first night. Like that, nothing changed from his perspective when from this news. I mean, he probably saw the writing on the wall. That's probably why he left. He probably sees the writing on the wall with a $250 million center, with Mitchell wanting to leave, with all this turmoil. It doesn't seem like the perfect fit for a first-time head coach, a la a Fordham coach going back to Villanova. You know what I mean? When Jay Wright steps down, like this is a whole different ball game. So I agree with your sentiment. I know why the odds are like that, but I don't see Bryant going to Utah. But before I get you out of here, I know we went off the rails here. I just kind of want to end. We talked a lot about second round picks. We talked a lot about Knicks culture, trends. And we got this kid, Etienne, coming out from Wichita State. Is he going to end up on this team? Another Ron Baker?
Oh, man.
Our boy Cornette holding down the NBA Finals for Knicks fans, right?
Yeah,
holding down the stat.
Respect Luke Cornette, man. That is, like, I don't know. I'm sad about us not still having Luke Cornette in like a very rational way. But if there was going to be a player that I was like full, like, you guys know I fucking love Frank Ntilikina, and yet I'm not on Twitter writing swan songs every day that the Knicks didn't re-sign him. Like, if there was going to be someone I did that for, it would be Cornette. So let's respect Cornette, first of all.
Come on, nothing was better than that Mitch and Cornette, Mitch's block party.
Cornette broke the records, baby. He broke the 3-point record for Wichita State. Killing it.
I think that Etienne, man, that is an intentional workout. Like, guys in that range, they're not just working these guys out for no reason. But I will also say that there's a reason that all the clips of them saying, oh, it was a competitive workout, yada, yada, got pushed really heavily. Kind of seems like the Knicks brought these guys in for the workout of their lives, like the time of their lives. And they go tell their agents and all their friends, hey, the Knicks are really cool. This, bringing Ty Washington out to dinner. Like, remember when West brought Kyra Lewis out to dinner and everyone thought that meant we were drafting him? Yeah. Like, no, they're just trying to show these guys a good time. Doesn't surprise me that they would include Ty in that group because he's a Kentucky guy. They want to show him a good time. They want to make sure he has a nice pre-draft experience. They look out for their Kentucky family. I wouldn't read. It's tough to say Etienne specifically. I would just say in general, don't be afraid to look at them working out a guy as a favor to an agent. Don't be afraid to look at them working out a certain guy as a favor to a school. You know, like this is a thing that teams do. And the Knicks are very much in a position to benefit from raising their perceived, quality of experience as a player with them. So yeah, I think that I'm not going to say anyone that they work out in that second round undrafted range is, a lock to be a Knick or anything, because a lot of these guys, they're just showing a good time to get in good graces with their agent, to get in good graces with their coach at school, whatever it is. They want their coaches telling their guys, oh, it would be great for you to go to the Knicks. They want that perception built up. Remember, say it again. Remember who's running this team.
It's all about value. All about value. It's all about relationships.
James Dolan's running it.
I think some of the Dolan conversation right now is absolutely insane. Like, the fact that people are still bringing him up as the reason that players don't want to be here.
It's the stupidest. It's the stupidest thing because just watch the
turn
Rangers.
on. I was gonna say you can turn on your TV, and like 2 out of the 7 nights in a week, like just accidentally stumble upon evidence that James Dolan can run a successful team.
Business. Yeah, people are crazy.
It's
people just love blank talking points, man.
I have to come out and say that, like, no, it's because we fucking suck. That's why no one signs here. It's not because of the guy that's cutting the checks. It's because we fucking suck. Like, they have me, a Knicks fan, screaming from the rooftops that the Knicks suck. I feel like such a loser, but it's like, you guys are literally making me do this. Like, it's not it's not the guy cutting the checks, bro. The Nets owner. Don't even get me started, bro.
No.
The Nets owner had a business partner go missing, and no one talked about it because he spoke out against the Chinese government. That guy cutting the checks is totally fine, right? Like, his best friends just go missing and get like taken. That's totally chill. Like, he's a cool owner, but the guy who lends his private jet and whatnot, oh, wouldn't dare receive 30 million a year from him. Couldn't do that. Give me a break with like the sudden morals for these billionaires. They're all dickheads. We know it. Let's just
On that note.
And on that note, that's a good place to end. And on that note, Kris, thank you for coming on the pod, man, and giving your draft knowledge. Please let the listeners know where they can find you, man.
Oh man, Twitter, twitter.com, Kris Pursiainen.
YouTube.com.
spelled as funnily as you could imagine. So it's linked on Draft Class. There you go. Go check out Draft Class on Knicks Film School, wherever you get your podcasts, or on YouTube for the video. And my Twitter will be linked there as well. So throw me a follow if you do not already, and you enjoy things like the Knicks, food, some Star Wars talk, a little bit. I try to be myself now. I feel like I started out like being like a 17-year-old that really looks like he's trying to be a reporter. Recently, I've been a little more comfortable being myself. So yeah, that'll be my plug, is my Twitter and my show. Thank you guys again for having me on.
And you guys,
of course, man.
Did you design these? From Knicks Film School? Were you part of that? I remember you were going.
Yeah, I did the the shirt, like the Big 15 shirt.
Yeah,
that was my graphic. Yeah. Right. So
nice.
I respect John for rocking the KFS merch because I was coming on today.
We got maybe
it was a coincidence,
baby.
Hey, there you go.
Let's go.
That I did not see because you had the camera cutting that off. That is fire as hell, my man. But yeah, thank you guys for having me on. Thank you to the listeners for tuning in. And this was amazing. It was a great time.
Thank you, Kris, for coming on. And to our listeners, you already know the drill. You know where to find this podcast. We're on all audio listening platforms: Apple, Spotify, Google Play, Amazon, Alexa, you name it. We are there. If you listen to us on Apple or Spotify, please make sure to give us that 5-star rating. And if you listen to us on Apple, please make sure to leave a comment. We're also on fan side, so you can find us over at the Daily Knicks. Sorry. Whoa, Daily Press. Thinking about Superman. Jet Press. Thinking some Superman right now. Thinking about DC Comics because I saw Teen Titans today on my timeline. I'm like, I used to rock that show a lot. Rock that show a lot. Love that show,
bro. Me too.
So make sure we're on the Jet Press. We're on the Daily Knicks. If you want to go over to the fan side and go check us out there. We're also on YouTube, Knicks Jets, etc. Find the page, subscribe, hit that notification bell. That way you know a new episode drops. Leave a comment when you watch a video. Hit the like button. While you're over there, we got another podcast, Winning Picks Weekly. John, video producer Greg, our guy Chip Murphy, co-host Chip Murphy. These guys go through every sport. Make sure to go check them out if you want to place some money on the line, if you want to bet on sports. And hopefully Kris Pursiainen, our guy, goes over there and gives some odds and some takes. We got draft coming up, some prop bets. So hopefully he's able to join there as well. And then last and certainly not least, please make sure to follow us on all social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You name it, we're there. Thank you again to Kris Pursiainen for joining us today. We'll catch you later. We out.
Let's go Knicks. Let's go Rangers. Let's go Yankees, bro. Bases loaded right now.